Hello.
During the train ride, every screen in the city had been playing news reports about the Liberators' announcement. They were the first violent domestic terror group with a political motive in recent Garian history. But there was something else that struck me about them. This wasn't the usual MO of a conservative group trying to maintain the status quo. It felt much more like revolutionaries hoping to effect change by resorting to drastic measures.
All right, so we figured out the Liberators made a big announcement all over the TVs, but we figured out that there was a break-in at a building, and that's likely, and that's where it was broadcasted from. So we have clues. The rest of our leads kind of dried up because everyone involved so far never met who hired them. So outside than inside. He seems pretty nervous about his boss. Looks for a security firm named Cox that was contracted. He's been at a business meal since 1730. I'm not panicking. You're being careless. I want you to promise me that you stay home today, okay? I'll call you back later. Can't have an eye on all the rooms at the same time, right? It wasn't my fault. I left my post at the front desk for a short break and was having a coffee in here. I heard the sound of shattering glass and I ran looking for the noise. When I arrived in the server room, I saw the broken window and the video playing on screen. I stopped the broadcast as quickly as I could. It all just took a few seconds. Climb in, log into the computer, and start that video within a few seconds. No more than 10. I mean, that video went on for like 2 minutes. There's a presence sensor at the entrance of AdSpot's server room. Pull its data. And there's basically no glass inside, so they clearly busted out instead of in. They busted in, uploaded this video, and then jumped out in the span of 10 seconds. A likely story. How your relationship with your boss? About tonight. I have to save you, and after that video today. Oh, that's right. Huh. 1756, 1801, 1802. That's likely him leaving and then him entering and then leaving a second ago. So he lied about it being no more than 10 seconds. One second. Man is a liar. About those door cards. Okay, I misread the file. So he was wrong. It was the guy was wrong about the facts, but that's because he doesn't know what actually happened. That guy, this guy Moore, went into that room, broadcasted it for like 5 minutes, and then busted out, and that's what fucking Brown heard and came in and then looked around. That's what I'm going with. Whoever started that broadcast walked in through the front door, played the video, smashed the window, climbed through it, and ran away. To conceal the real way they got in. 3 people from Cox Security have access to door cards as well. Cox himself, Brown, and his colleague Moore. He and Brown take turns in surveilling the facility. Entered the building at 17:55, shortly before the broadcast began. It can't have been Brown. He passed by the door 3 times since he arrived, which places him inside. Only 2 other people have access to Cox's door cards, James Moore and their boss. Cox has been at a business meal since 1730, so Moore is the only suspect left. Another fine day's work. The businessman, Abraham Gonzalez, found a deleted message that is extremely interesting. It was like someone hired him to fetch the data module on Gera. Didn't we know that? The message was sent from the Mercurius network. It's only accessible to really big companies. They have to be publicly traded and count more than 10,000 employees. The message was sent via a highly encrypted channel of the network. Those are exclusively accessible to high-ranking executives. It practically has to be the CEO. A message from the sniper's cell. Looks like he sent it to the woman who stole the data from our chief. You might want to have a look at that as well. Be sure you're mad as hell, and I'm sorry for that. The thing is, I have a bad feeling about this whole mission, and I really couldn't stand it if you got hurt. If I don't get out of this, I want you to quit nonetheless and do what we were planning to do. If everything goes as planned, I'll be with you in no time, and I'm sure I'll find a way to get used to normal life. If it doesn't, don't look back and don't come looking. Okay. Ah. I'm having car troubles, but I'll be there soon. You could swing by the restaurant where Cox presumably had dinner and check his alibi. We asked for them to send over tonight's surveillance footage. Let me boost the volume just a tad over here. And up here as well. Their camera is unfortunately broken right now. Seems to be one of those locations where privacy is part of the service. Her name is Yvonne Cox. I'm sure she does. Can only let you in as part of a reservation. Neil Conrad, CDI. Sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to ask you a few questions. Mrs. Cox is my client. Where your husband was around 6 o'clock tonight. Albert got a phone call and excused himself. That was us. Albert and I don't live together anymore. We have all but separated. She corroborates his alibi. I didn't have the impression she'd lie to protect him. Their marriage is barely more of a pragmatic arrangement at this point. Moore's not home. He's on a holiday, according to his wife. He said he went to Manami Tree Resort. We're trying to confirm this and get a hold of him. Move up a layer or two and make a right to leave the market. I'll be there in 10.
On my way up to Moore's apartment, I walked through aromatic clouds of fried rice, fish, and mystery meat. I'd been down to Paloon Market once before, with Catherine. It almost surprised me to see that none of the platforms had collapsed in the years since. People were still selling the same junk, some of it probably stolen halfway across the planet.
Anybody home? Agent Neil Conrad, CDI. Sorry to bother you once more. Why don't you come in? Can I see your badge? His flight left last night after work. He wanted some peace and quiet. Does he have a criminal past? He did his time for it. Illegal substances. His boss said he knew nothing about it. And we went right back to... Oh. Here's my cell info. Oh. Oxydenol, used in lung disease treatment. What was that? Permanent lung damage. Mind-altering substances stowed away under the loading area and arrested the driver on the spot. Okay, that's the incident. There's more? I have another question. Why'd you frame those 2 news articles? They remind us of things we shouldn't forget. They go with Moore's wife. She doesn't seem to know what her husband is up to. I took a look around the place though. I'm almost at Cox's building. Meet you there.
Oftentimes in our investigations, the obvious solution would turn out to be the right one. People usually acted in accordance with their interests and their emotions. Whoever we first thought did it, they often turned out to have done it. With Moore and everyone else we had met so far, it always felt that we were at least one step removed from the truth. Nothing about this case was obvious.
I just got a call from the AG. She ordered us to arrest Cox. We have strong reason to believe that he is part of the Liberators. Sorry. I'm Agent Long, and this is my partner, Agent Conrad. I'm sorry I don't have more chairs in here. Didn't expect this sort of slip up from him. I apologize. Mr. Cox, you are under arrest. You're suspected of providing support for an interplanetary conspiracy. Put down that gun. Immediately. You shot a CDI agent. It's over, Mr. Cox. Shooting an agent starts an alarm. They're already locking down the area. It's your last chance to surrender. Police! Drop your weapons right now. My partner was shot and needs medical attention. Mr. Cox opened fire on us. I'll put away my gun if you keep yours pointed at Mr. Cox, okay? He opened fire on us without warning. I'm okay. Just hit my head when I fell. grant years ago. Destroying records. I think we interrupted him. Getting work schedules and security information. I guess that's everything in there. Okay, I took a quick look. Just this once. There's something we forgot up here. Signs of forced entry. I don't know why there would be signs of forced... I guess that just proves that it was him that destroyed the files. Hey, Neil. Oh, shit. Want to swing by for a glass of wine? Been up there in a while. Okay, I guess. Yours? You turned it okay.
met my own tired gaze in the glass. There were so many things on my mind. Laura's disappearance worried me more than I had shown. I thought maybe it had been the wrong call to let her go to that party. In hindsight, it probably wouldn't have mattered. And then there was Cox. I was curious about his explanation as to why he had opened fire on us, but mostly I was glad that I hadn't had to shoot him.
Welcome, Mr. Conrad. Your visitor is waiting inside. Who are you? Lila? Oh. Who's Dora? Nice to meet you. What do you want? We need a guy in the CDI to help us out with a few things. You're full of shit. We need the data to get our money after all. This is where you come in. Monster. We don't want to... Man! We don't want to screw over Gary, but goddamn. Murder and child abduction. You don't have to believe in anything to not be evil. You wanted to start a new life with him?
As soon as the woman disappeared into the night, my facade slipped and I nearly collapsed on the balcony floor. I took out my cell with shaking hands and tapped on Laura's face in my contacts. Maybe. She didn't pick up. I resisted the urge to call Catherine next. I couldn't just tell her about what had happened. She knocked on my door in the early morning, but I didn't open. I tried to decide on a course of action, but I couldn't concentrate. My mind alternated between trying to remember my last conversation with Laura and conjuring up horrible images of her tied to a chair in some basement. Sometime later, my alarm rang. I got up to go to work, not sure if I was ready to talk to Kat. I must have stood outside her apartment for a few minutes when I finally made a decision.
As long as they won't harm her if I do what they say. Man. I feel like I'm handling this in the dumbest possible way, but I need to go. Hang on. Fine. He's making some announcement this morning. Didn't sound good at all. More. It's been hard on all of us. Okay, I wanted to see if I could give that message to that guy. I assembled some basic information on James Moore and his wife, pulled their recent bank statements. The CV of the guy who fired at you, Albert Cox. He's a Savian and he grew up on Dravia. He changed his name 20 years ago. Is Albert Bolton. Parents owned a big company at the time. The safety of the Savian colony on Drovia. When Cox had finished school, he changed his name and moved to Gara. You look not great. As many of you know, I've been working for the CDI for 28 years now. I've done everything in my power to defend the values our planet stands for: freedom, tolerance, equal rights for everyone, and justice, and guiding all of my actions. Is for me to resign from my duties at CDI effective immediately. Man. Oh. You both know that it doesn't matter. Heads need to roll for this. Why did we arrest Cox? It looks like he might be calling us soon. I need to go use the little person man's room. So, bear with me right now. Be right back. Turn that down a little. She was waiting for an opportunity. Foreign Minister Banny was shot last night. Boyd went to see a woman called Zora, and the mistake with confidential stolen data. Boyd met another man to hand him that data. Abraham Gonzalez extracted a deleted message from Gonzalez's cell, which proves that someone paid him to fetch the stick and send the data to an unknown address once he was outside the Garian network. This leads us to believe that the data cannot be sent unnoticed via the web. It applies only to the best kept secrets of the Garian government. We don't know who paid either of them, but the message to Gonzalez was sent via an encrypted channel on the Mercurius network. That means that it must be one of the higher-ups of a large publicly traded company. We don't know what was on data stick because we haven't been cleared for access yet. Yesterday morning, an anti-Saviant terror group calling themselves the Liberators publicly broadcast a video in which they claimed responsibility for Banny's murder. They also announced the second attack within 48 hours. Their broadcast was sent from the AdSpot building. They operate all the billboards across the city. At the time the video started, the building was being guarded by a Cox security employee. We have reason to believe the perpetrator was another employee of that same company, James Moore. His wife says that he went on a holiday at Manami Tree Resort, but he never turned up there. Currently running a planet-wide search for him, but without success so far. The CEO of Cox Security, Albert Cox, opened fire on Agent Conrad and myself when we went to arrest him. It was an order from the Attorney General. Conrad convinced Cox to surrender. We arrested him and brought him in for questioning. He had been in the process of destroying hard drives before we arrived. Our IT department is currently trying to restore what's left of the data. He doesn't have access to the Mercurius network. There are some bigger fish behind Cox. Take a look at all the evidence we've got, including the information Sato put on our pin board. Gonzalez surrounded himself with lawyers. Could be a while until we can interrogate him again. I feel like Gonzalez doesn't know shit. Let's save. Let's screen cap all of these. Let me turn the mic down. fine for petty larceny. The year is 1840. Attempted theft, 6 months prison. We were transporting illegal substances. Resistance against mind-altering drugs. Extended field of view. Shortened reaction time. Increased hand-eye coordination. I'm not following. Oh, this is their... Okay, this is the Moore's account. They were given $15 for pregnancy test. And he received way more than his salary. Just a $10,000 lump sum from Cox Security Services. And then they were able to buy the prescription that they couldn't buy before. Let's talk to Boyd first. To pass on the message. I turned off the camera. Who are these guys you and Zora are working for? Do what they tell you. He was pretty sure he got his assignment from someone in the Telenium business. I will. Ask you a few questions. You fired at my partner and me. Care to explain? You didn't make the best first impression. Make it look like you're somehow involved with the Liberators. A quick look at your biography shows that you are a Savian. And you grew up on Drovia. 25 years ago, you moved to... 25 years ago, you moved to Gara. Savians, backwards radicals. If you have the choice between hiring a Garian or a Drovian, you hire the Garian. All the missions we ever get come from Drovia. Is responsible for security at Sector 2. Alright. We got a few. We got like 3. Moore's motive is his sick wife. What are those footsteps? See you there.
Once again enveloped by the smell of the market, I thought back to the man I had been when Kat had brought me here. How did it all go so wrong? Deep down, I knew the answer. I was just too scared to commit to my family. It was so much easier to care about something that didn't have to like you back. That wouldn't go away if you didn't want it to. For me, that was my job. But ironically, protecting myself like that only made it hurt so much worse. Now that Laura was out of my reach, the pain of being separated was only amplified by the knowledge that I had missed so many opportunities to be with her.
You have reason to believe that your husband is affiliated with them. It seems like your husband has a strong motive. Your husband is being paid for the attack and needs the money for your medication. He goes to prison for life. If we get him before, the sentence will be significantly less severe. He's involved in an imminent terror attack. Korean hotel.
Korean Hotel. I didn't even need to look that up. It was directly next to the Grand Church at Korean Square, one of the most important houses of prayer for Saviants here on Gara. It probably would be crowded with believers and tourists tomorrow morning. No doubt it was the Liberator's next target. The rush of making progress in the case only lasted a few moments until I realized that now I had to make a tough decision. If I told Zora about the target, I couldn't tell the CDI, and vice versa.
Is that not... What? Okay. Damn it. Okay. This, telling her about the attack will keep the daughter safe. But it will piss off CDI. Not telling her will not piss off CDI, but then the daughter is imperiled. Yes. What does it mean? For fuck's sake. However, she slipped up. Aw. She slipped up and said William. And I don't know if we met anyone named William. President Robertson. that would have been too easy. God damn it. The train for Station Square is departing soon.
I felt like shit for letting Zora and her accomplices intercept the attack. There were so many ways this could go wrong. I didn't want them to take more, or worse yet, somehow miss him and let the attack happen. Don't get me wrong, I didn't regret telling Zora what I knew to protect Laura, but endangering the lives of innocent people wasn't an acceptable trade-off. I couldn't tell the CDI, or even call in an anonymous tip with the police, because the chance was too high that Zora would suspect me. There was no other way. If I wanted to make sure things didn't go south, I had to go to the church myself. I left in the middle of the night, hoping it wasn't already too late.
Liqueurs. Is this place open? One of the temple walls last night. Do we want to lie? My bar was. I don't remember the context in which Bawas was said, but it was indeed a word that someone said. CDI, hands in the air right now. Step away from the device. They'll shoot you if you don't cooperate, okay? It won't take you away. So the so by default these decisions are timed.
I came to, my head and my shoulder hurt, and I was cold. I remember feeling relief when I realized I was still in the church and not tied up in the back of a van. Everybody else was gone without a trace, except for the bomb. I approached it carefully, but quickly realized it was disabled, or had never been fully assembled in the first place. I knelt down to examine the explosives, looking for clues pointing me to their origin. If Young had been there, she could have run a full analysis. Lucky for me, the explosives were clearly identifiable from their shape and labeling alone. These were Cineon sticks, used in chamber blasting. Nobody had access to those outside of the mining industry. I stepped back, satisfied for a moment. Then the rest of reality came crashing down on me. What would Zora's boss do when he heard that I was here? What were they planning on doing with more? And fuck, what about the guard? I hadn't heard him resist the intruders, so that was a good sign. My heart started racing while I quietly went back down the stairs.
Quietly. All right. That was the end of Act 2. So I might be back later this evening for the final act, but for now we gotta go. As always, everybody take easy and stay safe.